Rain slicked the shattered streets of Easton, hiding the bloodstains that had long since dried into the pavement. The once bustling city now lay in ruin, its silence pierced only by the occasional low moan or the frantic flapping of torn posters in the wind. Skyscrapers, dark and hollow-eyed, loomed like headstones over a world buried in its own mistakes. Travis Bennett pressed his back against a crumbling brick wall, struggling to quiet his breath. The sound of shuffling feet echoed from the alley ahead. He could feel them, zombies, close, maybe 3 or 4. Maybe more. His shirt clung to his body, soaked in sweat and rain. His battered backpack hung loosely from one shoulder, half unzipped, the contents inside clinking faintly with every move he made. It was all he had left, a half-empty water bottle, 2 protein bars, and a folding knife he barely knew how to use. But it wasn't just about the supplies. It was about making it to the safe zone rumored to exist 40 miles west, beyond the collapse. 40 miles. And he hadn't made it more than 5. A sharp screech split the air, the sound of metal dragging across pavement. Travis froze. One of the infected had knocked over a dumpster. The noise would bring more. It always did. He moved. Slipping through the alley, boots splashing in shallow puddles, he darted into an abandoned convenience store with a shattered front window. Glass crunched underfoot, and he winced, knowing he couldn't risk stealth anymore. It was about speed now. Behind him, groans rose in volume, no longer aimless but directed. The Horde had found his trail. Travis didn't look back. He vaulted over the counter, slamming through the employee door and racing up a narrow stairwell. The second floor was dark, but dry. He stumbled into what had once been an office, shutting the door softly and jamming a chair beneath the handle. For a moment, the silence returned. The kind of silence that made your heart louder than the world. He dropped to the floor, gasping. His fingers trembled as he unscrewed the water bottle. The water was warm, stale, but it was life. He drank slowly, carefully, his eyes never leaving the door. Down below, the groans multiplied. The Horde was growing. He could smell them now, the rot, the disease, the hunger. Travis had made mistakes. A week ago, he'd been in a fortified apartment complex with 6 others. They had rules, supplies, even a battery-powered radio. They believed the worst had passed. But safety makes you soft. The infected broke through a fire escape window during the night. Screams woke him. By the time he reached the hall, half of them were already gone. He didn't know if anyone else made it out. He ran. And he hadn't stopped running since. Now, with his back to a cold wall and death below, Travis realized the truth: there was no safety here. Not in Easton. Maybe not anywhere. But if there was even a chance of that safe zone. A crash below made him flinch. They were in the store now. He could hear the guttural snarls, the sound of clawed hands scraping along tile. The stairwell groaned. Travis rose silently, pressing his ear to the door. Footsteps, wet and heavy, ascended one by one. The creatures were slow, but relentless. If he waited, they'd break through eventually. If he moved now, he might find another way out. There was always a risk. He looked at the window. Rain still poured outside, washing the fire escape in a slick sheen. It was rusted and bent, but intact. He moved fast, snapping his bag shut, slinging it tight across his back. He cracked the window open and climbed through, gripping the cold iron bars. His foot slipped once, his heart nearly stopped, but he caught himself. The door burst behind him. Screams. Rotten hands slammed against the glass, but he was already descending. The fire escape groaned under his weight, then collapsed halfway down with a screech. Travis dropped the last 8 feet, landing hard on his side, pain shooting through his ribs. He bit down on a cry and forced himself up. Zombies poured from the building like ants. At least 10. Maybe more. And they were faster than they looked. Travis ran. His boots pounded the wet asphalt. He ducked under fallen signs, leaped over debris, skidded around wrecked cars. Every breath burned. Every heartbeat roared in his ears. He didn't know where he was going, just away. But survival wasn't about knowing the road. It was about moving. Always moving. The moans followed him into the night. And the city didn't let go easily. The storm had eased, but the city felt no less dangerous. Travis leaned against the side of an overturned bus, chest heaving. Rain still dripped from the gutters above, tapping on metal like a ticking clock. His side ached from the fall, and a sharp pain pulsed in his left ankle. He wasn't sure if it was sprained or just badly bruised. Either way, slowing down wasn't an option. Not now. The infected had scattered behind him, but he knew better than to believe they were truly gone. They were drawn to movement, to sound, to blood. If they caught his scent again, it would be over. He limped down the block, weaving through wreckage and the bones of a civilization that no longer ruled the world. Bullet holes scarred the cars. Empty shopping carts sat frozen mid-crosswalk. Someone had spray-painted Safe Haven West on a brick wall in orange, followed by an arrow that pointed down a side street. Travis hesitated. The word safe didn't mean much anymore. Still, it was better than wandering aimlessly. He adjusted the straps on his backpack and turned. The side street narrowed, flanked by crumbling apartment buildings and long-abandoned laundromats. A red bike lay on its side, twisted and rusted. Someone had tried to build a barricade out of furniture and fencing, but it had been breached long ago. He moved quietly, his ears tuned to every creak, every scrape. A wrong sound could mean death. Halfway down the alley, he heard it. A soft sob. Human. Travis ducked behind a dumpster and held his breath. The crying came again, closer now. It was definitely a woman, maybe in her 20s. He peeked around the corner. She was sitting against a doorway, curled in on herself, arms around her knees. Dirty blonde hair matted to her forehead. One arm was wrapped in a blood-soaked bandage. His first instinct was to keep going. Helping meant slowing down. It meant attention. Risk. But she wasn't bitten, or at least not turned, and the guilt of leaving her was a weight he couldn't carry, not again. He stepped out. "Hey," he whispered, crouching low. "Are you hurt bad?" Her head jerked up. Her eyes went wide with fear. "Back off." "I'm not infected," he said quickly, raising his hands. "Just trying to help." She didn't move, but her breathing quickened. "You alone?" "Yes," he lied. "You?" She nodded. "They got my brother. 3 days ago. I've been hiding. I think it's infected, my arm." Travis knelt beside her, checking the wound. It looked like a deep cut, glass maybe, not a bite. But it was swollen, and the skin around it was turning red. "I've got a bandage and some antiseptic," he said. "Let me clean it." Her lip trembled, but she nodded. He worked fast, unzipping his bag and pulling out what little medical supplies he had. She winced as he poured antiseptic on the wound, then hissed through her teeth as he wrapped it tighter. She didn't thank him, but her shoulders eased slightly. "What's your name?" Travis asked as he tied the knot. "Jenna." "I'm Travis." They sat in silence for a moment. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm blared once, then stopped. Jenna was the first living person Travis had spoken to in days. She looked hollowed out by fear, by exhaustion, by loss, but not broken. "Not yet." "I saw the spray paint," he said. "Safe Haven West. You know anything about it?" She shook her head. "Heard rumors. A camp outside the city. Some military guys holding it down. But no one's come back to confirm." Travis sighed. "So we're chasing hope." "Better than standing still," she said. He helped her to her feet. She staggered but steadied herself. "We should move," she said. "I don't like this place." He agreed. The alley suddenly felt narrower. The buildings, more claustrophobic. They headed west, following the arrows, avoiding open streets, ducking through old shops and buildings. They barely spoke. Every sound mattered. Every shadow could hide teeth. In the fading light, they reached an old hotel. The sign had collapsed, the lobby windows shattered. But it was tall, tall enough to scout from the roof. Inside, the air was stale. The floors creaked. Somewhere above, something shifted. Travis froze. Jenna tensed. The sound came again, slow, dragging footsteps. Not alone. He motioned her back, but her foot hit a broken glass bottle. Crunch. The footsteps stopped. Then, they moved faster, heavier. It wasn't one. It was several. Travis grabbed her hand. Upstairs. Now. They raced up the stairwell, 3 flights, 4 footsteps chasing behind, guttural moans rising. The infected had found them. Bursting onto the rooftop, Travis slammed the door shut behind them. He jammed a rusted metal rod through the handle. They turned to face the city. The sun was setting behind the skyline. And in every direction, the streets below were crawling with the dead. The door rattled violently behind them. Travis and Jenna stood motionless on the rooftop as groans rose from below. The infected pounded at the stairwell door with furious hunger, slamming against it in waves. Every impact sent shudders through the rusted frame. That rod won't hold forever, Jenna said, her voice tight. I know, Travis muttered, eyes scanning the rooftop. It was flat and wide, bordered by a low concrete barrier. Beyond it, neighboring buildings formed a jagged skyline. Just 2 blocks ahead, a rooftop bridge connected this hotel to what looked like an office building. Maybe a way out, if they could reach it. Travis limped toward the edge and peered over. The alley below was swarming. Dozens of infected moved aimlessly, some still smeared with gore. He'd seen them before, the freshly turned ones were faster, more alert. Some even mimicked the way people used to move, until instinct took over. These were not the slow, lumbering corpses of old horror movies. These things learned. Jumping's not an option, he muttered. Jenna stood beside him now, rubbing her arm. Her bandage was already soaked again. We go for the bridge? Yeah. But we'll need something to cross with. They turned back to the rooftop. Old rooftop furniture was scattered about, benches, a rusted metal ladder, a sun-bleached sign that had once read Easton Grand Hotel. Near the ventilation units, Travis spotted a wooden board about 12 feet long, maybe used to secure a satellite dish in the past. It was heavy, but solid. They dragged it to the edge, each gripping one side. You sure this'll hold? Jenna asked. No. But I'm more sure we don't have time. Below them, another bang. Louder. Closer. The infected were making progress. Travis took a deep breath, braced the board, and began to inch it across the gap to the next building. The other rooftop sat maybe 5 feet away, but a 5-foot fall into an alley swarming with the undead was as good as a grave. Ladies first, he said, trying to sound calm. Jenna didn't hesitate. She crouched low, balancing carefully as she crossed the board, 1 step at a time. The wood creaked with every movement. She reached the other side, dropped to her knees, and waved him forward. Travis exhaled and followed, favoring his ankle. The city howled around him, wind, moans, distant sirens that still played from broken speakers somewhere downtown. The sky was dark now, just a smear of orange in the distance. Halfway across the board, the rooftop door behind him exploded open. A group of infected, 6 or 7 at least, spilled out onto the roof, snarling, flailing, eyes locking on him instantly. Move! Jenna screamed. Travis did. The board wobbled as he bolted across. 1 foot slipped. He caught himself, heart hammering. The infected surged after him. He reached the other side just in time to grab the board and yank it free. The lead infected, a man in a shredded business suit, face half missing, lunged too late and tumbled down the side of the building, taking 2 others with him. The rest howled but were trapped on the hotel's roof. Travis dropped beside Jenna, both of them panting. Close, she said. Too close. They crawled away from the edge, deeper into the new rooftop. This building was older, with vines growing up the brick. A rooftop stairwell stood ahead, metal doors slightly ajar. Travis checked it. Clear. Inside, they found a narrow hallway lined with storage lockers and broken vending machines. One door stood open, revealing a dusty office full of filing cabinets and moldy furniture. They barricaded it the best they could and settled in. Travis lit a small flame with his lighter, careful to keep it low. The flickering glow cast long shadows on the wall. Jenna peeled back her bandage. The cut was worse than they'd thought, puffy, red, and leaking pus. "We need antibiotics," she muttered. "Or this'll kill me faster than they will." Travis stared at it grimly. "There's a clinic a few blocks west. I remember seeing it on the map before all this started." "That's suicide," she said. "Staying here's not much better." They sat in silence. The city outside moaned in waves, like a living organism. One that never slept. "You ever think it's pointless?" Jenna asked quietly. "That we're just delaying the end?" "All the time," Travis said. "But I've got to believe there's something better ahead. Otherwise, I'd stop running." She looked at him for a long moment. "Then let's not stop yet." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The infected still wandered below like sharks under ice. And in the darkness of the crumbling city, two survivors planned their next move, chasing safety in a world that no longer knew what the word meant. By sunrise, the wind had picked up again, dry, hot, and carrying the sharp stench of decay. From the rooftop, Travis spotted the clinic 2 blocks west, marked by a faded red cross above a shattered doorway. It looked quiet, too quiet. That kind of stillness never meant safety in dead America. Jenna's fever had spiked overnight. Her skin glistened with sweat, and she shook uncontrollably beneath the jacket he'd wrapped around her. The wound on her arm had gone from red to purple, spreading like ink beneath the skin. He knew infection like this didn't wait for a convenient moment to kill. She needed antibiotics. And she needed them fast. Travis secured the makeshift barricade, stuffed what little supplies they had into his pack, and slipped his knife into his belt. He didn't want to leave her alone, but bringing her would only slow him down. And out there, seconds mattered more than anything. "I'll be back before the hour's up," he whispered. "Don't move. Don't make a sound." Jenna didn't answer. Her eyes fluttered beneath her lids, lost in fevered dreams. He stepped into the hallway, shut the office door gently behind him, and moved down the stairwell. The building groaned as it settled. He hugged the shadows, every sense screaming for him to turn back, but he didn't. He couldn't. Outside, the streets were still. Bodies lay in the gutters, some burned, others bloated from the summer heat. A crow pecked at one of them, fluttered off as Travis passed. He crouched behind a rusted-out pickup truck, eyes scanning. Then he sprinted, down the alley, over debris, past graffiti-scrawled walls that said things like "We deserve this" and "The dead don't forgive." Reaching the clinic's entrance, he paused and listened. Silence. He slipped inside. The waiting room was trashed. Chairs overturned. Dried blood smeared across the check-in counter. Someone had died violently here. Several someones, judging by the claw marks in the drywall and the streaks leading to the stairwell. Travis gritted his teeth and moved forward. A cracked sign pointed toward the pharmacy wing. He followed it, careful to avoid broken glass. Every step echoed too loudly. He held his breath and pushed open the door to the medication storage area. It was half ransacked. Cabinets smashed open. Bottles shattered. But some were still intact. His fingers moved fast, grabbing anything labeled amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, doxycycline. It wasn't a proper diagnosis, but it didn't have to be. Just something to slow the infection. Then he heard it. A shuffling sound. Not from the hallway. From inside the room. He turned just as a tall infected lunged from behind a curtain, eyes wild, jaw slack. A former nurse, still in uniform, skin grayed and peeling. Travis dodged left, slamming into a shelf. The infected woman snarled, her fingers curled like claws. He grabbed a metal tray and flung it at her face. She stumbled. He used the opening to charge forward and plunge his knife into her side, not enough to kill, but enough to knock her off balance. She slammed into the cabinet, knocking over more pill bottles. He ran back through the hallway. His ankle throbbed. Behind him, more groans echoed, others had heard the noise. Travis burst into the sunlight and dove behind a trash bin as two more infected spilled into the street from an alley. One crawled on all fours, broken legs dragging behind it. The other, bigger, faster, stopped and sniffed the air like a dog. Travis didn't wait. He sprinted. Around a corner. Through an open doorway. Up a stairwell. Over a collapsed beam. The city became a blur of motion and fear and heat. He didn't stop until he reached the rooftop again, heart hammering like a war drum. The door opened with a creak, and Jenna stirred weakly as he knelt beside her. "I got it," he said, shaking out pills with trembling hands. "You're going to be okay." She tried to speak, but her voice came out hoarse. "You came back." "Of course I did." She swallowed the pills with water from their last bottle. Then she leaned back and let her eyes close again. Her breathing steadied. For the first time in days, Travis allowed himself a small breath of hope. But it didn't last. He heard something outside. Voices. Not infected. Human. Travis moved to the edge of the rooftop and peeked down. 3 people, armed, armored, moving tactically, were sweeping the street below. One carried a radio. Another had a rifle with a scope. Mercenaries? Survivors? Jenna coughed behind him. One of the strangers looked up. Their eyes met. The stranger raised a hand slowly, deliberately. Then mouthed a single word. "Run." Travis froze. The man down below, tactical vest, matte black rifle, dark eyes beneath a baseball cap, didn't speak. He just stared up at Travis and repeated the gesture, palm out, fingers spread, then curled quickly into a fist. Run. That word echoed in Travis's mind like a warning bell in a burning building. He ducked away from the ledge and turned to Jenna. "We have to move. Now." She was groggy, but the color had started to return to her face. The antibiotics were working, barely, but her strength was still gone. Travis helped her to her feet and wrapped her arm around his shoulder. "Who was it?" she asked, wincing. "I don't know. But he didn't look like he wanted to hurt us. He looked scared." They made their way down the rooftop stairwell, stopping only to listen. No groans. No footsteps. But that didn't mean they were alone. Out on the street, the trio of strangers had vanished. Travis kept to the shadows, guiding Jenna between burned-out cars and collapsed signs. The air smelled of smoke and rot. Somewhere nearby, a fire crackled. As they rounded the corner of a diner, Travis caught a glimpse of movement, just ahead. A blur between 2 alleyways. Then another shadow, high up on a fire escape. "We're being watched," he muttered. Jenna nodded faintly. "Not infected?" "No. Worse. They're organized." They pushed on toward the subway station, hoping the underground tunnels might give them an edge, or at least a place to rest. But the feeling didn't leave, eyes watching from the ruins, quiet footsteps keeping pace just out of sight. Then the voice came, calm, clear, and male. "Drop your weapon and raise your hands." Travis froze. A man stepped from behind a van. Same one from earlier, tactical vest, short beard, sharp eyes. His rifle wasn't pointed at them, but it was ready. Behind him, 2 others appeared, a woman with a scarred cheek and a shotgun slung low, and a younger guy with a scoped hunting rifle. "We're not here to hurt you," the man said. "But we don't trust easily." Travis didn't move. "Neither do we." The man gestured to Jenna. "She's injured." "Not bitten," Travis snapped quickly. "Good. That makes things easier." The woman stepped forward. We saw you on the rooftop. You handled yourself. Most don't last this long out here. Travis lowered his knife, slowly. Who are you? Name's Rourke. We're part of a group. Survivors. We've got a place about 10 blocks from here. Fortified, food, water, medicine. But we don't just bring anyone in. Jenna sagged against Travis. Her fever had flared again. They didn't have a choice. What's the catch? Travis asked. No catch. Just caution, Rourke replied. You come with us. We keep our weapons. You keep yours. We watch each other. He waited a beat. Deal? Travis glanced at Jenna, who gave a faint nod. Deal. They moved together, the 5 of them slipping through the ruins with practiced silence. Rourke's group knew the terrain. They pointed out traps, signaled one to stop, and used hand signs that spoke of military training or long, hard experience. At one point, they paused at the edge of a courtyard where 2 infected tore into a dead deer. No noise, Rourke warned. Those 2 will bring 20 more. They waited until the creatures moved on, then pressed forward. An hour later, they reached a high-rise apartment complex ringed with barbed wire, old cars stacked into walls, and a handmade metal gate that required 2 men to crank open. Armed guards patrolled the upper floors, watching the streets with binoculars and rifles. Inside was something Travis hadn't seen in weeks: people. Children played with sticks. A woman hung clothes to dry. A man stirred a pot over a makeshift stove. Faces were tired, eyes weary, but this was life. This is Haven, Rourke said, leading them up a stairwell to a floor converted into a living space. Not perfect, but better than out there. Jenna collapsed onto a cot. An older woman with silver hair came to check her arm, applied a fresh bandage, and gave Travis a reassuring look. She'll pull through. Travis finally let out a breath. Later, Rourke handed him a canteen and a packet of stale crackers. You've been out there a long time. Too long, Travis replied. I didn't think places like this existed anymore. Most don't. But we hold it together. For now. Then Rourke leaned in, voice dropping. There's something you should know. That safe zone on the radio? The one promising airlifts and military shelters? Yeah? It's real. But it's not what they say. We sent a group 2 weeks ago. Only one came back. Said it was a trap. Something off. Like they're experimenting. Travis felt a cold weight settle in his chest. You're saying there's no safety? I'm saying, Rourke said grimly, chasing safety might be the most dangerous thing you can do in dead America. Night in Haven brought little rest. Jenna slept in a feverish daze, her breathing shallow but steady. Travis sat near her, knife in hand, eyes fixed on the hallway. The sound of laughter and clinking dishes echoed faintly from below, false comfort in a world where joy felt borrowed and temporary. He should have felt safe. But the weight of Rourke's warning pressed too heavy on his chest. The safe zone on the radio. The promise of helicopters. Medical care. Protection. A lie. Why broadcast salvation if it wasn't real? At sunrise, Rourke returned with a folded map, worn thin at the creases. He set it on a crate between them. I didn't want to say more last night, he began, but if you're thinking of going north, you'll need to know what you're walking into. Travis leaned in, scanning the hand-marked lines. Most roads were crossed out in red. Blocked. Infested. Collapsed. Whole regions were marked with large XS. What's this? Travis pointed to a symbol near the top corner, a circle drawn around a radio tower. That's the source of the transmission, Rourke said. We tracked the signal. It's automated, looping. No live responses. Just a pre-recorded voice. But that's not what's strange. He tapped the circle. The area around it, it's different. Quiet. Too quiet. No infected. No animals. No signs of life. Like something wiped it clean. Travis frowned. What kind of something? Rourke hesitated. We don't know. But one of our scouts found signs of experimentation. Labs. Holding cells. A bunker beneath the tower. Whatever they're doing up there, it's not a rescue mission. Jenna stirred behind them. She sat up slowly, groaning. What's going on? You're awake, Travis said with a smile. We were just discussing whether or not we should walk into a trap. She raised an eyebrow. Sounds fun. Later that day, as Jenna regained strength, the three of them gathered supplies, canned food, water, ammo. Rourke handed Travis a pistol. Standard issue. Not fancy, but it'll keep you alive. I thought you said heading to the tower was suicide, Travis said. I did. But I also said we don't trust easily. If you're going to chase the truth, I want you to come back and tell us what you find. Jenna glanced at the map. What if we don't come back? Then I'll know not to send anyone else. By dusk, Travis and Jenna were packed and ready. The entrance gate clanked open slowly, revealing a long stretch of broken road ahead. Be careful, Rourke said. And whatever you do, don't trust what you hear on that frequency. They left Haven under a sky painted in ash-gray clouds, moving like shadows between burned trees and silent homes. They made good time at first, following the map's black trail through industrial ruins and empty overpasses. But the silence began to feel unnatural. No birds. No insects. Not even the groan of a distant infected. Travis stopped beside an old highway sign, bent, rusted. It's like the world just stopped out here. Jenna knelt near a patch of dirt. No tracks. No scavengers. This place hasn't seen life in days. They pressed on until twilight. That's when they found the bus. It sat sideways in the middle of the road, front end crumpled, windows shattered. Blood streaked down the sides. Inside, bodies still strapped in. Civilians. Faces twisted in terror. All shot in the head. Someone executed them, Jenna whispered. No bites. These weren't infected. A scrap of paper was taped to the door. Travis peeled it off and read aloud. You are not being saved. You are being studied. They left the bus behind in silence. Night fell fast. They camped in the shell of a hardware store, blocking the entrance with shelving units and huddling near a dry sink. Jenna stared into the darkness. If this really is some kind of testing ground, who's behind it? The government? Travis shook his head. Whoever it is, they're still listening. Broadcasting hope like bait. He pulled the small radio from his bag, the one he'd carried since the beginning. He turned it on. The familiar voice came through, crackling but clear. This is Command Center Delta. If you are receiving this transmission, proceed north to coordinates 71.3 by 94.2. Safety and evacuation await. Repeat, safety and evacuation await. Jenna scoffed. Safety, huh? Then a new voice broke through, raspy, desperate. Not part of the loop. If you can hear me, don't go to the tower. Don't. Static. They took my wife. They said she wasn't human anymore. More static. It's not about curing the infection, it's about controlling it. Then silence. The original broadcast resumed as if nothing had happened. Travis turned it off. The night felt colder now. He whispered, tomorrow, we find that tower. And in the distance, far beyond the dead trees and hollow buildings, a blinking red light appeared, high on a hill. Watching them. The tower rose like a needle against the morning mist, a shadow wrapped in fog and silence. Travis stared at it from behind a wrecked gas station window. Even from here, it looked wrong, too clean, too intact. The surrounding land was barren, cleared of trees, scrubbed of life. No birds, no animals, no infected. Just silence. Jenna stood beside him, her expression grim. It's like they bleached the world. They moved carefully, keeping low through the empty fields. The ground was dry, cracked. No tire tracks. No footprints. Just miles of unnatural quiet. When they finally reached the perimeter fence, Travis spotted the signs, literally. Authorized personnel only. Restricted zone, deadly force authorized. The gate hung slightly open. They want us to come in, Jenna muttered. Travis nodded. They always have. They slipped through the gate and entered a concrete courtyard littered with abandoned equipment, crates, wires, cameras pointed nowhere. A strange hum vibrated in the air, like distant machinery running underground. The tower itself stood at the center. Rusted only slightly, antennas still blinking red. Its base was surrounded by a circular bunker, thick steel doors, half buried in the ground. One stood open. After you, Jenna said with a hollow smile. They entered. Inside, the walls were cold metal. Fluorescent lights flickered weakly overhead. The hallway stretched forward, then split in two directions. A monitor near the entrance powered on as they passed. A face appeared, female, mid-40s, glasses, military uniform. Pre-recorded. "Welcome to Delta Research Facility," she said in a flat tone. "Please remain calm. Help is on the way." The screen cut to black. They kept moving, following the left corridor. Doors lined the walls, labs, some labeled infection analysis, others simply marked observation. Behind one glass wall, they saw it, a restrained infected, strapped to a gurney, motionless. Its eyes were open. Not wild. Not mindless. Aware. Jenna stepped closer. "It's conscious." Then the thing moved, just slightly. Its eyes locked on hers. It didn't growl. It didn't thrash. It just stared. Travis grabbed her arm. "Keep walking." Deeper into the facility, they found more rooms. More infected. Some howling, others completely still. Some muttering. Whispers echoed from behind one locked door. Travis leaned in. "You hear that?" Jenna nodded. "They're speaking." He hit a nearby intercom button, and the sound came through, distorted, layered, but clear enough to freeze his blood. "They're watching. We are not lost. They see through us, speak through us." Jenna pulled back. "That's not infection. That's something else." They turned a corner and found a central control room, glass windows overlooking rows of monitors. A large desk, buttons blinking. Files scattered. A logbook open, pen still on the page. Travis picked it up. Day 309. Subject 37 responded to the signal. Speech patterns increasing. Infection stable. No signs of decay. Admin wants to increase pulse frequency. We are beyond containment. Now we observe. Jenna read over his shoulder. They weren't looking for a cure. They were waiting to see what it became. Suddenly, the monitors all flickered. Static. Then images. Surveillance footage. Not just the tower, the world. Cities in ruins. Survivors hiding in tunnels. Herds moving in unnatural unison. Then, Haven. Travis leaned closer. That's live. The screen showed Rourke walking the perimeter, talking to a child. A blinking red dot hovered above the image. Jenna's voice cracked. They're tracking everyone. Another screen showed an aerial view, thermal scans, names tagged to heat signatures. A list populated on one side. Immune subjects. Reactive hosts. Stage 2, synced. Travis's name was there. So was Jenna's. Both under immune. Travis stepped back, shaken. They've been watching us the whole time. A voice came over the intercom, this time not a recording. You've made it far. That's impressive. It was calm. Male. Almost amused. We didn't expect you to make it through Sector 3. The bus trap usually filters out most. Travis looked up at the nearest camera. Who are you? We are the architects of survival. You call us monsters, but we are what's left when governments fall and science speaks louder than hope. Jenna stepped forward. You're experimenting on people. No. We're preserving what's worth preserving. The infected are a gateway. They're not dying. They're changing. Evolving. And you too, immune, resistant, rare, you're the missing pieces. Travis clenched his fists. That signal, it's bait. Of course. Hope is the best lure. The voice continued, colder now. You have two choices. Stay. Join the program. Help us rebuild from the ashes. Or leave, and be hunted. The lights dimmed. A distant door clanked open somewhere below. Jenna looked at Travis. We're not staying. He didn't answer, he was already scanning the control panel, searching for a shutdown switch, anything. The voice laughed. Very well. You've made your choice. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. From the hallway behind them, heavy footsteps echoed. Something was coming. Travis grabbed Jenna's hand. Time to run. They bolted from the control room, deeper into the maze. Behind them, a mechanical hiss. Something growled. But it wasn't infected. It was something new. Let me know when you're ready for Part 8, final part. Part 8, one last breath of freedom. The hallway shook with mechanical roars as Travis and Jenna sprinted deeper into the facility. The red emergency lights flickered, casting strobe-like shadows that made it impossible to tell how close the thing was behind them. Metal claws scraped the walls. Left! Travis shouted, pulling Jenna through a narrow side passage. They dove into a lab and slammed the door behind them. It had no lock, only a deadbolt handle. Travis shoved a metal card against it for extra weight. Then silence. For a moment, they just breathed. The lab was filled with upright stasis chambers, 7-foot glass tubes, each containing a suspended figure. Some were infected. Others were in between. Their skin had turned pale, but their eyes were clear. Alert. Jenna moved to the control terminal. These aren't test subjects. They're soldiers. The monitor displayed their vital signs, brainwave activity, mutation levels. One was labeled Prototype, Xeon Alpha. Another Human Hybrid Initiative, Sleep Mode. Travis scanned the readout. This place wasn't researching a cure. They were building an army. A loud crash echoed from the hallway, something slammed against the lab door. The lights dimmed. Jenna backed away from the terminal. We're out of time. Suddenly, the wall panel beside her lit up with a map of the facility. Exit Route 2, Subterranean Access Tunnel, 900 meters. She touched the screen. The wall behind them clicked open, a hidden passage. Travis grabbed a nearby crowbar and nodded. Let's go. They slipped through the hidden tunnel just as the lab door exploded behind them. A synthetic roar followed. The tunnel was long, narrow, sloping downward. Water dripped from the ceiling. The lights were old, blinking. Somewhere behind, mechanical feet hit the ground. The thing was still coming. Faster. Jenna said. They rounded a corner and entered a massive underground corridor. Rusted tracks lined the floor, an old freight system. There was a tunnel cart still powered and docked. Travis jumped into the operator's seat. Pray this works. The panel flickered to life. He slammed a button, and the engine rumbled, stuttering, then caught. The cart lurched forward down the tracks. Behind them, the creature turned the corner. They only saw it for a second, 7 feet tall, humanoid but stitched with metal and flesh. Its eyes glowed blue. It didn't run. It launched. The cart shook as it gained speed. Jenna turned and fired the pistol at the thing. The bullets bounced off its chest. Faster, Travis. I'm trying. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the cart's screen. Tunnel ahead, collapsed. Manual detour required. Travis looked up. The rail split in two, left path was blocked with rubble, right still clear but marked untested, hazard level 5. They had no choice. He veered right. The tunnel narrowed, then dipped sharply. They were thrown against the sides of the cart as it plunged into darkness. The creature couldn't follow, but it roared one last time, distant and furious, fading into silence. For a few moments, there was nothing but the sound of wind rushing through broken tunnels. Then light. A service hatch ahead, glowing orange from early morning sunlight. The cart slowed and hit a barrier. They jumped off, climbed the steps, and shoved open the hatch. They emerged into a forest clearing, quiet, golden with dawn. Birds chirped. Mist hovered low over the grass. They were out. Jenna collapsed to her knees. We made it. Travis stood silently, scanning the tree line. No signs of the infected. No cameras. No voice in the sky. Just sky. In the distance, a radio tower blinked. Not the one they came from. A different one. Jenna noticed it too. You thinking what I'm thinking? That wasn't the only facility. She stood, dusted herself off. We tell Haven. Everything. The experiments, the surveillance, the soldiers. If Haven's still safe. They began walking. For the first time in weeks, the air smelled clean. The birds sang louder. The fear lessened, just enough for them to breathe. But then, from deep in the trees, they heard something else. A crackle. A radio burst to life in Travis's bag. He pulled it out, eyes narrowing. It had been silent since Sector 3. A voice came through, calm, static-laced. We see you. Subject ZN24, Subject ZN25, congratulations. You survived. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The voice continued. Don't worry. We'll find you again. We always do. The signal cut. Silence. Travis turned off the radio, then tossed it into the bushes. They looked at each other. Jenna forced a small smile. We keep moving. He nodded. And together, they disappeared into the trees, still chasing something they'd barely touched since the world ended. Safety. Let me know if you'd like thumbnail ideas, cinematic image prompts, or if you're ready to start your next zombie versus human story.